What I've got here is a class action lawsuit letter from Audi. It was sent April 12th, 2021. I should have made this video sooner. I should have made this video as soon as I got the paperwork in the mail, because one of my customers called me asking me what's going on with this thing. And, you know, I didn't even really take the time to go through it, but I'm going to take the time right now to go through it with you. I'm not going to go through every little detail, but I'm going to explain kind of what they're talking about and what's going on with this Afterrun coolant pump deal. So first, let's talk about the Afterrun coolant pump. I'm going to show you what it is. Now, what does the Afterrun coolant pump actually do? In a coolant pump, a lot of people would think water pump, coolant pump. Let me just show you. So this right here is a b8.5 engine. It's the facelift engine. This right here is the Afterrun coolant pump in question. So there was some kind of fire hazard or something with this thing, and they didn't have a replacement right away. So what they would do is they would just unplug it, and then they would put a little cap in there. So there was also a software update to bypass this thing. Right here I have a water pump. See, this is the original plastic style. They typically break on the top up here. I'll show you some examples. This is a small pile of dead water pumps. That one was probably just a bad bearing. This one, you can see it broke right there with the plastic lip and the O-ring. This one right here broke right there, you see that? And it broke right there. It was broken in two spots. See how the plastic just snaps out? We got another one right here. That one didn't break right there. That one might have been seeping somewhere else. Broken right there at the top. These are just a few of them that I've saved. See how that one's broken right there? So there was a lot of legal action that happened with this thing. There was oil consumption stuff, there was the timing chain stuff, there was, I think maybe even a water pump that I actually just showed you. I don't know for sure about the water pump. Someone can post links to the different class action stuff or tell me exactly what was going on, but I'm not exactly sure about the water pump. And I can make different, if you want me to make different videos about what they did with different things, I can do that as well. But what I'm really talking about is the papers that we just got in the mail recently. And this is for, like I said, the flex fuel stuff, the facelift stuff. The paperworks they were showing what cars were applicable here. I don't feel like flipping through it right now. It's like 2012 to 2017. So this is the Afterrun coolant pump off the engine. The Afterrun coolant pump simply pumps the coolant after the engine's done running. That's what it means. It pumps the coolant through this turbocharger because this turbocharger is really hot with this exhaust cartridge. So we have coolant going through it and we have oil going through it. So what that does is that helps this coolant pump keeps on pumping coolant after the engine's shut off to cool down the turbo so that the hot oil in this turbo doesn't cook, and they call it coke, and cook in this bearing housing. Now, let's just talk about that real quick because this is a little bit controversial. Now, you came here for my opinion, so that's what I'm going to give you. And my opinion's pretty good because I've been working on these things pretty much since they came out. So, not only that, I've had previous turbocharged vehicles, drift cars, SR20 DET, VG30 DETT, built both of those, drifted them, blew them up, rebuilt the engines, put them back. I've had lots of experience with turbocharged vehicles. Neither one of those engines, neither one of those high-performance 400 wheel horsepower Nissans had an Afterrun coolant pump. And no, I didn't stop the engine and let it idle after a hard run. I ran good oil in it. I never destroyed my turbos. Now, is that the smartest thing? No, but I actually ran those cars really hard, rev limiter banging, and is it the smartest thing? Probably not, but I ran good quality oil. You're not really gonna have problem. This is my opinion. There's going to be people that disagree with me, but if you run good quality synthetic oil, I've never seen oil coke up. I've had more than hundreds of these engines apart, probably into the, sounds crazy, but probably more than 1,000. But out of all these engines, I've only seen like, now of course these do have afterrun coolant pumps, but I've only seen like 2 turbochargers fail with the center cartridge, and it is pretty rare to, I've seen others. I've seen like the older 1.8Ts. I've had one of those with a failed center cartridge, but I just don't necessarily believe that the afterrun coolant pump is going to cause a failed turbo, and that's what this paperwork is leading to. They're extending your warranty for your turbocharger because of their failed afterrun coolant pump, because they had to unplug this afterrun coolant pump, they had to give you a different software update, and they had to wait for new afterrun coolant pumps to go through the research and development phase before they could put them back on your car. And this took too long. They didn't have the fix for it right away. So they took it on the chin again, and they're giving people extended warranties for their turbochargers. But these turbochargers are not going to fail, in my opinion, for the most part, because of the afterrun coolant pump not working. That is a nice thing to have on there, and there's a reason why the engineers put it on there, and it's a nice little safety precaution, all that kind of thing. Yeah, afterrun coolant pumps, there's a reason for them. It's nice, you don't have to, you can do your own research on afterrun coolant pumps. I'm not against afterrun coolant pumps, but I personally think that Audi's going above and beyond. Maybe even, they had to probably have their hand forced, because that's a stupid class action lawsuit. But I've had a video before about these turbochargers. The reason why they fail, predominantly, more often than not, is because their linkages are garbage. These IHI turbos have linkages that fall apart. Now, I'll put a link to that in a pinned comment below, and you can see what I'm talking about, so I don't have to regurgitate it in this video. Keep the video small. But what you're typically going to find is a P0299 underboost fault, and it's because of a wastegate flap that's loose. And you can see that in my video that I posted in the link. But you're actually getting a huge benefit from this, because look, this afterrun coolant pump, it didn't really affect hardly anyone's car. They made sure that it didn't catch anyone's car on fire, or it wouldn't have really caught it on fire. What it probably would have done is just melted it, and then people freak out. There are way worse things, like the airbag recall that probably still isn't addressed, with a bunch of people driving around with what's the word? The Takata airbags or something? Someone can tell me. But there's probably still millions of cars on the roads with airbags that could throw shrapnel in your face. But it's such a small, tiny little thing, and it's just, they have to cover every little thing. It's just, they have to. But I'm not necessarily covering from them either, because there was a lot of engineering failures on this engine. You know what the problem is? They have to keep on redesigning things to get them up to standards, and the government is pushing the engines out of development for emission standards. So they're basically, I mean, that's the whole Dieselgate and all this other kind of stuff. I can get into all that in a different video, but it's getting so ridiculous with the regulations to be able to affordably build a car with a gasoline engine. It's getting ridiculous. Not only that, but with all the legal action and everything else going on in this world, I understand everyone's arguments about I paid this much for the car, I got a warranty, all this other kind of stuff. I understand. This is not a perfect world, though. And you guys are getting a lot out of this, really. I mean, Audi doesn't sit here and try to make failed engines. They try really hard to get a good reputation, in my opinion, because they go above and beyond, from my experience working at the dealership, giving out so much warranty stuff that they shouldn't have. From a lot of it has to be if you're a good customer, but a lot of it wasn't. A lot of it was people that bought a car that was used. They might not have even had it for a month, and they got free pistons. A lot of stuff like that. So, you know, give me your comments. Tell me what you think about all the failures on this engine. Tell me about all the class action stuff. Tell me about what Audi did for you. Maybe Audi I've talked to a lot of customers that Audi did all kinds of things for them outside of warranty. So I think it's a good brand. I think you can trust them. I think you should be able to trust them in the future, especially if you are a good customer. They'll go above and beyond for you, in my experience. It might not be that way for every dealer, but a lot of times they'll help you out. So if this video was helpful, help me out with a thumbs up or a like or both. If you can't figure out what's going on with your vehicle, if you can't go through the paperwork yourself and try to understand it, there's a phone number for questions down here at the bottom, and there's a website. And also, if you can get a hold of someone at your dealership, you might be able to just to call them and ask about what the service availability or standards are in your vehicle.